Again, we're live today for this live stream. It's July 10, Sunday, 2022. What do we learn from Shinzo Abe's assassination? By the way, I'm Jason here, uh, your host. I'm an entrepreneur, businessman, educator, um, musician, rock guitarist, martial arts enthusiast, blades designer, outdoorsman, and I'm also into prepping and survivalism as a useful hobby, philosophy, practice. And expectedly, this channel, Hagbayon channel, is a small YouTube channel devoted to current events, literature, rock music, martial arts, blade sculpture, prepping, survivalism, and whatnot. So, what do we learn from Shinzo Abe's assassination? Now, what happened? Shinzo Abe was shot twice at the back while delivering a speech on Friday for the Liberal Democratic Party's campaign. He was shot by Tetsuya Yamagami, 41 years old. According to reports, Shinzo Abe was in the middle of the speech when a shot was heard. There was video footage of the incident that I actually saw, and it showed him, uh, uttering something, a phrase, and in Nihongo, of course. And the first shot actually apparently did not hit. Um, he even had the chance to uh, look at his back while his hand was still raised, and well, looking at it, his bodyguards should have, jumped at him and covered him, but that did not happen. So the assassin had a chance to make another shot, and this time Abe was hit, and apparently he died of cardiac arrest as well, or I think the primary cause of his death is cardiac arrest because apparently Shinzo Abe already has a heart condition. So it was really the shock that killed him more than the impact of the bullet. So that's what happened. And apparently, according to reports, his killer was dissatisfied, dissatisfied with him, and actually had a grudge because apparently Abe was a member of this organization of sorts, and the killer had contempt for that particular, fact, or had contempt, held him in contempt because of that particular fact. And also reportedly, a homemade gun was used. The gun was made of metal, wood, and only, was held into place by a duct tape. It was somehow a bit crude, but as you know, effective. And according to reports, homemade guns and explosives were actually found at the killer's home. So it appears that the killer is indeed imbued with criminal intent or criminal mind, and perhaps had been planning this for a long time, and he really has this predisposition for committing such a crime because in fact he was also, you know making some explosives, homemade explosives. Um, according to the reports, the killer also did not attempt to make an escape. So that tells us about the state of mind of the killer. Perhaps he really wanted to make a statement, and even if he got caught, for him it was okay. So somehow like a kamikaze warrior or some sort, typical of Japanese Japanese culture. And he wanted to show perhaps that he was responsible for his actions. So he did not attempt to escape. Now, who was Shinzo Abe? Well, we all know him, but Shinzo Abe, just for us to have something to talk about Shinzo. He was actually Japan's longest serving prime minister. He served for 1 year in 2006 and then served for 8 years from 2012 to 2020 and resigned at the height of the pandemic, I think, yeah, because of health reasons, of some severe ailment of some sort. But he was known for his assertive policies on defense, so much that he actually wanted to amend Japan's post-war uh, pacifist constitution. You know very well that after World War II, Japan was, aside from being banned from having, military or much military capability, Japan also took a pacifist stance and adopted a constitution for such purpose. Now, Shinzo Abe was somehow bent on amending said post-war pacifist constitution. Also, Abe Shinzo was known for his economic measures, so much that there was even a term coined for it. It's called Abenomics. Abenomics, um, characterized by monetary easing, fiscal stimulus, and structural reforms. Structural reforms. Now the question now is Tetsuya Yamagami's contempt or hatred towards Abe related to Japan's Imperial Army's Unit 731? Um, we know that the assassin was saying something about an organization uh, where apparently Shinzo Abe is a member of. In fact, some friends of mine commented that maybe the assassin was deranged or of unsound mind and must have been intimating Shinzo Abe's membership in the Illuminati or something because of the mention of this particular fact that he actually hated the former prime minister because of his membership to a particular or a specific organization. That's according to reports. So, could it be that such contempt is actually related to Japan's the Japanese Imperial Army's Unit 731? Now, what is Unit 731? Um, you see, Abe is said to be unpopular with China and South Korea, both countries earlier invaded by Japan during World War II. And this is because Unit 731 allegedly made or conducted lethal experiments on Chinese civilians in northeast China in 1930s and through 1940s. Uh, the intention was actually to develop chemical and biological weapons. Now, Shinzo Abe's grandfather, Nobusuke Kishi, okay, was said to be one of the generals that led Unit 731. So, yeah, that must have earned the ire of the killer. Maybe the killer is actually one with the sentiments of the Chinese and South Koreans regarding that matter, regarding his connection to Unit 731, or Abe Shinzo's connection, being that his grandfather, Nobusuke Kishi, is said to be one of the generals that led said Unit 731, according to a report or according to sources. And as a matter of fact, Shinzo Abe was once seen posing in a vintage warplane with Code 731 printed on it, as if, according to one member of social media, as if uh, the late prime minister was taunting China, being that the Chinese actually hate Unit 731 so much. Because, as we said, because of the lethal experiments done by said unit towards Chinese civilians. But you know what? Even then, Shinzo Abe is considered as friend of the Philippines, more particularly because he once promised to help. Was promised to help the Philippines in case uh, armed conflict erupts here in Asia, or particularly Southeast Asia or West Philippine Sea, as against, well, another friend, China. We have a complicated relationship with China, as you know. Well, the question now is what do we learn from the killing of Shinzo Abe? Well, for one, apparently, strict gun laws will not deter gun related crimes. Um, you know that handguns are banned in Japan, and in fact, to be able to own a gun over there, you have to undergo strict examinations, mental and health, mental health tests, psychiatric evaluation. Same here in the Philippines, but apparently in Japan it's quite more stringent. And even then, even if you pass those tests, you're only allowed to actually own or buy a shotgun or an air gun. So they are that strict. But apparently, even if you have very strict gun laws, if the criminal or the criminal intent is there, no one will stop that criminal. Like this killer by the name of Tetsuya Yamagami, 41 years old. He actually made his own handgun, a homemade handgun, and it actually worked. It emitted, smoke, large amount of smoke, but it worked. It was able to actually kill the former prime minister of Japan. So strict gun laws may not be enough to actually deter gun-related crimes. So the preppers out there will again um, use this as an example, a classic example why taking the initiative in defending oneself should be the rule, and why one must not um, leave it to the legal authorities, you know because at that very moment when the crime is about to be committed against your person, the highest possibility is there will be no law enfor- law enforcement officers nearby. So, as a matter of fact, even if there are law enforcement officers, as in the case of Shinzo Abe, there were actually police officers in the area, and he even had bodyguards with him, but it was not those bodyguards in the presence of police officers were not enough to deter the killer from proceeding with his plan. Well, another thing that we can learn is that situational awareness must be rehearsed and practiced at all times, even if the place is somehow relatively peaceful, like that of Japan. Crimes in Japan, in general, low are very low. There's very low incidence, very low crime rate in Japan, very low uh, incidence of crimes over there. That is why perhaps the bodyguards of Shinzo Abe was somehow, already used to it, became a bit complacent. So they were not able to act really fast, act fast enough to further, you know, prevent damage on the person of the former prime minister. They weren't able to cover his body by their own bodies, or they weren't able to stop the attacker from, or the assailant, or the assassin from coming near him and actually shooting him. Remember that the first shot apparently did not hit the former prime minister. He took another shot. So it was actually chance for them to prevent the crime from being, it was completed with the first shot, but it was actually a chance for them to prevent the death of the prime minister. But as we know, it did not happen. The former prime minister was killed. Another thing we can learn is that shock can actually paralyze even professional bodyguards. So if you're in shock, then you might forget what to do. So as we said, situational awareness must be rehearsed. It must be, there must be, it must be practiced every day, and there must be rehearsals. There must be uh, reenactments, or I don't know, maybe simulations. There, the word is there. The word is simulation. There must be simulation of such incidents. Okay, and another thing we can learn is that haters will hate. Okay, enemies are inevitable. We are bound to make enemies no matter what we do. Kindness is not transactional, according to a vlogger that I came across. He said that even if you are kind towards a particular person, it doesn't mean that he will return such kindness with kindness, because kindness is not transactional. Even if you may be kind to this person, or you treat such person with great respect and care, it's still very possible that that person will not treat you with kindness and respect and care in return. Just because of this particular fact that what kindness is not transactional. And according to some psychologists and psychiatrists, apparently it's kind of human nature. If you are too kind, etc., they see you as a target, or they see you as a soft, you know, spot. Or they see it as mm, something they could exploit. So it's not really you know, a surefire thing that if you are kind towards others, you will also be treated kindly. Anyway, haters will hate, and conversely, haters will, you know, will still, find fault with everything you do, uh, no matter the, no matter how well intentioned you are, you will still find a reason to hate you. As in this case, Shinzo Abe allegedly uh, uh, is want on paying tribute to war criminals. Maybe that's his, his thing. That his political leaning, uh, and it was not seen as something positive by, or it would not be tolerated by his haters. And apparently, the assassin perhaps is one with the with the. This is my opinion. One with the uh, citizens of China and South Korea in actually hating Shinzo Abe for actually being a descendant of Nobusuke Keishi and for paying tribute, allegedly paying tribute to war criminals there. So, but in general, most people are very sad because of what happened to Shinzo Abe. They see him as a great leader. Even after I read about some allegations that uh, he actually paid tribute to war criminals and that he is unpopular with China and South Korea because of Unit 731. You know, in the main, Shinzo Abe is seen as a great leader by most people and most Filipinos because of his actions, even during the pandemic here in the Philippines. And because of his previous acts that showed that he's a friend of the Philippines. So there, that's what we can talk about for this particular live stream. This will be uploaded here on Hagbayon channel. Um, um, so there, again, this channel is devoted to current events, literature, rock music, the outdoors, play culture, prepping, and survivalism. Jason here, signing off. Remember, the pen is mightier with the sword. Thanks for watching.